All right, Ciel, you ready? Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Startup Art Fair LA 2026. Really happy you're all here. Welcome to this panel. I just want to give a quick intro about the fair in case you don't know about it. It was started in 2015, and it was created by me and a partner originally to provide access to the art community for independent artists. So rather than relying on having a gallery to be in an art fair to sell your work, you can represent yourself. And we've created the hotel model, or we didn't create it, we used the hotel model so that artists can have a more intimate environment with which to present their work. I feel like it's way better than walking down long rows of booths. But since 2015, Startup has been dedicated to helping artists build and sustain their careers, and we do it primarily through the art fairs, but we also do it through pop-up events, through a professional development workshop that we have called Startup Studio, and through online sales. So this is just one thing that we do, and we do the fair in San Francisco and in LA. And hopefully in the future, we'll do it in a couple of other places, perhaps on the East Coast or in the South somewhere. Anyway, I'm very pleased to open up this panel on this particular topic. I've always admired Kristine's work. I've been part of the Perceive Me project, and for people that don't know about that, it's in room 202.
203.
203.
I'm 204.
Yeah, 203.
204.
It is a years-long project where she's had other artists do portraits of her. And as I always tell people, some of them are very loving, some of them are very flattering, some of them are very harsh, some of them are very beautiful and sensual. They run the range of emotional tenor and different kinds of material and different kinds of attitudes. And I really love it. And it really goes to show you that the way we perceive ourselves is so different than the way everybody else perceives ourselves. And these artists have proven it, hundreds of them have proven how they see you. And I'm sure it's at great odds with how you see yourself. Anyway, so I asked her to put on a panel talking about that, self-worth, body image, portraits and contemporary art. And she's assembled this esteemed group of people here to talk about that. So anyway, welcome, and I'm going to hand this over to Kristine.
And you can hold the mic.
Okay.
Just
okay.
hold it.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. And thank you, Ray, for inviting me to do the panel and also hosting the Startup Art Fair. I mean, it's been an amazing event. I've been coming here for many years, except for, of course, it hasn't been here in a few years. But so this is the first time I've actually had rooms here, and it's been a great experience. So I'm Kristine Schomaker, and I'm an artist. I'm a cultural producer. I'm a mentor. I have my thumb in a lot of pies, let's put it that way. But my main art I have two different things going on here, but the main thing we're talking about is my project in room 203, Perceive Me. And my work's always been about body image. Since I graduated from college in 2010, my thesis show is about body image, comparing myself to my avatar, my online presence, who is my ideal self. And my professor was asking me, well, why? And so that's when I realized I had an eating disorder. And I started, examining ideas about body image, and it just spiraled from there. And I've taken photos of myself, and a friend of mine asked to draw me. And we were having this conversation about perception and about where our self-worth comes from, and how oftentimes it comes from how we imagine others see us, which is ridiculous because we have no idea what other people think. We don't know what they're thinking. We think they look at us wrong, and we're we're ugly or something. I don't know. But that goes for a lot of life. And so we talked about it, and I'm like, I want to see myself through other people's eyes, see what I look like. And also put myself out there, in my plus size body, to show that it's okay to take up space as, an overweight person, as any person. And Perceive Me started in 2018, and Amanda, she was one of my first artists. She's the artist that drew me. And then I invited over 60 artists at the time to paint, draw, photograph, sculpt, videotape me nude. We had a big show with over 80 works, and it traveled. It was at Cal State Los Angeles, the Museum of Art and History in Lancaster, and a couple of other colleges throughout the pandemic. So the first show opened right before the pandemic. And I was going to stop. I'm like, focusing on yourself is hard. I mean, while doing therapy and while trying to take care of yourself. And so I thought I was done. And then the other art fair reached out to me a couple of years ago and mentioned or asked me about doing nude portrait sessions. They did it with an artist in New York who this artist just had friends that were drawing anybody who wanted to pose. And so they thought it would be great for body image. And so I'm like, that's perfect. It's the next step. So Perceive Me is not done. So we did it the first time, the nude portrait sessions. Anybody can sign up, and I think there's still room if you want to pose. There is still room today through until 7:00. Anybody can sign up and be perceived by 6 or 7 professional artists. And again, it's about taking up space with who you are, no matter what. I mean, no matter, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable. It's about body liberation. My whole project is about that. It was personal because it was about my eating disorder. It was about how I saw myself. And it's funny, I was talking to somebody earlier. I used to hate photos of myself. I I think I even did a post this morning about it. My grandma used to have the camera in my face when I was probably a teen, so I was like bitchy anyway, but she, and I'd have that resentful face, don't take pictures of me. I look awful. I don't, and then while I was working on my master's thesis is when I realized, when I started taking photos of myself. And it was kind of like this immersive experience where I started to see myself differently the more I saw myself in photos. I also studied art history, and so I'm inspired by the performance artists of the 70s, the feminist artists who used their body in their work. So all of that has helped form Perceive Me and what I'm doing. Also community engagement, social practice, bringing artists together and getting people involved. It was a personal project that has turned universal because I want the message to get out there. I want to share that it's okay to take space no matter who you are, what you look like, what gender you are, what size, what color, all of it. It's okay to take space. And it's somebody said, you're giving permission. And I'm like, yes. I'm I'm giving you all permission to take up space by me doing that. So this panel is all about that. I brought the panelists who have posed, other artists who have modeled for the nude portrait sessions, also who have done portraits for the project. And then we have 2 special guests, Avery and Jamie, who actually posed this weekend. And just we're glowing about the experience. So I wanted everybody to hear, how it felt to them. Kathryn also is drawing this weekend. And so I thought I'd pass this on so you can all introduce yourself and talk about how you're into, what your relationship is with Perceive Me.
I'm Liberty, and I was actually an artist at the other art fair. I already knew Kristine. I knew about the project. I'd heard about it, and for years I'd been like, this is an amazing thing. And I even would say to Kristine, oh, so cool that you're doing this. It's so awesome. I really admire it. And then she said, do you want to draw? And I was like, oh, I'm showing at the art fair. And then she said, well, why don't you model and just get someone to watch your booth for a few minutes? And I was like, the gauntlet was thrown.
Yes.
And it was a very precious moment for me. Anyways, I've had a lot of structural issues I have a ton of surgeries I've had. So I have a complex relationship with my body also. Middle-aged mom, had 3 kids. I've got all the scars to prove it. But also in that same time, my brother-in-law had just been diagnosed with ALS. And so I was thinking a lot about his body failing him and me still walking around in this body that I sometimes hate and sometimes don't. And so I had an experience modeling I stood there and I I was thinking as I was posing, I'm unwinding the hate I gave myself when I was younger. And I felt that actually kind of unraveling off me. So I've had, and then the other thing I'll say real quickly is that when I got out, some of the portraits were so beautiful that I never would have thought. I was like, wow, these are really generous. Like, I do not look like that. And then some of them were really hard to look at because, like, my big flaws, the places I'm most insecure about, were right there too. And yet, like, some of those ones were exhibited or drawn with such care and tenderness that I bought a little bit from each category of, like, the ones I liked and the ones I didn't. And because I thought it was a good reminder for me that I don't see myself the way other people do. And as an artist myself, I always knew that I kind of had like this little like tiny piece of falling in love with everyone I'd ever drawn. And so it was such a beauty to receive that. So that's my experience with it. Yeah.
So I've already introduced myself. I'm Ray Beldner. I actually did nude modeling when I was in art school. Because everybody does. You just model for your friends, right? But I did drawing this time. A friend of mine modeled yesterday, and she insisted I draw her. It's like, you got to come draw me, right? And I'm like, that's a little weird. She goes, no, come do it. And so it was great. And she's kind of a model anyway. She's done a lot of portrait modeling and photography modeling. Anyway, I love this project. I mean, I've said it all. I don't need to say anything else other than we'll pass this on to Jason to talk about his experience.
Well, yes, my name is Jason Jenn, and I come into this as a bit of an outside observer, having documented all of the different iterations that Kristine has done of Perceive Me and all the different cultural institutions. And also, along with my husband, we've interviewed a lot of the different artists. We run a company called LA Art Documents. And actually, it's because Vojislav, coming from Serbia when he immigrated here in 2017, he recognized Kristine Schomaker as somebody to get to know because she was such a community builder and someone who was making such an international presence with what you're doing here with Shoebox and all the different projects that you do. I mean, the faceted levels of things that you bring as an artist, multidisciplinary producer. And I come from a background as a performance artist. I've lived here in Los Angeles for 27 years, and my mentor, Rachel Rosenthal, would very much appreciate and see this performative aspect that you're bringing to your work, and the conceptual nature of it all is just amazing. So as an outside observer, I can recognize that this holds such a value beyond, some people might see it as a very personal project, but as you know very well, it goes beyond the personal, and it's about being bold and brave, and by connecting with everyone, even though that people are creating these portraits of Kristine, they're infusing it all with their perception, with their style, with their artistic style, and it's building community. And we've watched over the years of Kristine bring so many artists together that we've become friends with. I mean, we've worked with different artists because we met through Kristine and the different people that she brings together, either for this project or for the other things that she has created and done. So it's really been a remarkable thing to witness. And then I have to say, as someone who is a performance artist, there is still, there's always this push-pull between being comfortable being on stage or being in the spotlight and also just wanting to be like, I don't really, you have to kind of create, I imagine, a persona, or you have to kind of block it out on one level. There's a part where it's like, I've been nude on stage several times. It's not my favorite thing. I've modeled, in the school days, or also it's, modeling for teenagers who are learning how to do nude drawing. That was in my mid-30s, that was something else, because then you get the people teetering and all that stuff, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna sit through this. But it brings up all these different things, but it's a really important thing to push through and to have those experiences that you're uncomfortable with. And I think that's something to be so commended, is that you're always going beyond your comfort levels, and it's such a lesson for everyone to take.
Thank you. While you have that really
Yeah.
fast,
Mhm.
you're going to be participating in Perceive Me also.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about so far like the process of that, which is, it's been a while, and kind of talk about your thought process and what you want to do?
Oh, well, I have a lot of ideas. I mean, a lot of it has to do with, you as the community builder. And even though you're not a mother, you are a mother to many. And so
Yes.
there is this, I'm blanking on the archetype's name, but it's this woman with the mini tits, the mini breasts. And she's, it's this famous statue.
Yeah.
Venus of Willendorf?
It's not the
Yeah.
Venus of Willendorf, but it's like,
Demeter?
yes, Demeter.
Yes.
So I want to do something with that, but also because Kristine does a lot of her cut-ups. So what I'm going to create is a costume that she will wear, and it's sort of performative, and to work with that because so that's in development, and I really wanted to do it for this, but my life right now is just not allowed. So it will happen. It will happen.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask because it is a process, like the whole collaboration of working with the artists. It's this back and forth and this conversation with every single artist I've worked with. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Kathryn and I'm an artist. I'm based here in LA, and we've known each other for quite a few years, Kristine, in lots of different projects in lots of different ways. A lot of my art is to do with the human form anyway. I find it ultimately the most fascinating thing to draw, to paint, to represent, just because everyone is so very different, and therefore it's endlessly challenging, both technically and just trying to not just to portray the exact person on a piece of paper, but also to try and make them come alive and give them personality. And so, yes, I did the other art fair with Kristine doing the drawings, which was just fabulous. I really loved it. I also painted Kristine. I did 3 images of her, which was fabulous. I also did a solo show last year when I used myself as a muse, going through that whole middle age kind of, where's my body at, where how do I feel about my body, which was a really great exploration. And then I'm here to do drawings also, but then on Friday I ended up being a model as well. So it was really good for me to see both sides of it. And, I'm so grateful and appreciative of people that are willing to model, because it really does push us, and we need models to kind of make us better, to improve our trade and our craft. But it was really good to be on the other side of it and understand. And really the most terrifying thing, I think, is taking your clothes off in the bathroom. But once you're out on the and you go into a bit of a meditative state, and you do feel really quite powerful, and it's quite feeling. So that's, to me, I think that was a really great thing to be on both sides, because it is a relationship, it is a partnership. I think if you're an artist and a model, there is an imbalance of power, but really you should be working as a team. And I was thinking about the other day that it is, when we're scrolling all the time and we're looking at images of beautiful people doing beautiful things, it's a real passive engagement. And while you're passive, that's where negative thoughts come in. And when you're doing the drawing or being a model, you're being active. It's active engagement. And you are locked in. You're locked in as an artist because all you're trying to do is get as much information down as possible. And as a model, you're going into a meditative state, and that's where the positivity comes through. Negative thoughts don't get through there. So I think it's such a valuable experience for both sides in this day and age, whether what age you are, color you are, where you come from. It's just, just celebrating each other. So yeah, it's been a great experience. Passing the mantle.
Hello, my name's Avery. I modeled on Friday and Kathryn drew me and others and had a great time. And I met Kristine, who said that this was performance art, and I thought about it all night. And I ended up just thinking, yeah, it's exactly what I love and find really valuable about performance art, which is that I think it makes something happen. It being the Perceive Me project here in the Startup Art Fair. So the way that you enter the room and you're invited to model or not model obviously poses you a question. You have to make a decision. And at that basic level, you're creating a audience participation, which has turned the whole thing into performance art right off the bat. And if you don't model, you've still made the choice. You've still had to consider what this feels like to you. And you've had to consider the fact that other people are doing it and that these people think you could do it too. And you go away with little shifts. And if you do model, which I think then puts you in this really powerful performance space with other people, I think what happens is that the artists and the models all in a room together are practicing doing something out of the ordinary, which to me really feels like the thing about performance art is, for lack of a better word, forcing, but more just like creating a situation where people have to act in a way that they don't already know how to behave. They don't already know what to do. Maybe if you're an artist and you do this a lot, it has become more of a habituated situation. But with every new group of people in the room, you're trying new things. And I just thought about it all night. So that's, I think, why I am so excited about Perceive Me, because I see it just doing something. Even if you walk by and choose not to engage, I think there's movement made. The reason I loved it and chose to do it, I think I was keen to see myself rendered in different ways. I get dysphoric a lot and can fixate on what I think I look like, and also can fixate on how it feels so possible to control the way other people will perceive me on any given day based on what I wear or how I stand or how I carry myself. And that can just be kind of petrifying. And when I saw all the drawings from all the different artists, I saw 3 or 4 different faces and a handful of different bodies. And that was the most releasing, relaxing, comforting thing to get out of it, is a little reminder that the body I'm in is so transient, and everybody's got different eyes that they're seeing me through. And that felt like the therapy, so much so that when I woke up quite dysphoric this morning, I thought it might be nice to go sit and model again before I start the day. That might make me feel better.
I'm Jamie, and like Kristine said, I got the chance to model on Friday when I, out of the blue, decided to come to a different fair and different experience than I typically am drawn to in LA. And I was already having an existential night, as I'm pretty privy to. I thought, I haven't heard much about this fair. I'm so excited to have a night where I don't go to the east side and follow the crowd and just wander around the beach. So I was already in this beautiful sort of exploratory mindset. When I came into the room, there was a palpable energy, and I I was flooded with a few different memories at 3 different times through the experience. But I was immediately struck with a feeling of bravery, and that translated to, me harnessing my own bravery in times where I've done these things. And I was so inspired. And so it was like lightning when I saw, the sign-up sheet and then the figure drawings. I thought, oh, I definitely want to capitalize on this chance if I can to experience this again. I had the opportunity to be a figure model in university during some art classes. And I remember how inspired all my friends were when they would come over and see these, images, some kind of accosting and, grotesque versions of me, like caricatures you'd find on the street. You're like, oh gosh, I'm never showing that to anyone. And then some just so beautiful. And I thought, gosh, that's how someone perceived me in that moment. But that had been, 15 plus years. So I was brought back to that. And then when I was dressing in the bathroom, I had this memory of, growing up in a pretty naked house, a pretty body positive house where bath time, to lure us into, the nighttime routine would be like singing songs and dancing up the stairs and like throwing our clothes all around and getting in the bathtub. So I decided to kind of drop back into that chapter of my life, and that time before being nude was something I was ever self-conscious of. And I had a little touch of that come in as I got up onto the platform and was in front of everyone. I'm someone who's pretty confident, and I love being nude. I love, bathing nude or sunbathing or, being nude around my house. But again, I had this performance experience, and then this societal sort of realization that other people were around me and watching me. And so that was a really beautiful, meditative moment and opportunity to say, I'm going to give everyone here the benefit of the doubt that they're looking at me with like adoration and light and appreciation for the way that I am here. And so I'm so grateful when people can be brave enough to put something out there that allows other people the opportunity to dance with that. It feels very selfless. It feels, it feels kind. And it definitely colored my entire weekend then, where I was bringing, I still have the portraits that I purchased in my car, and was thinking that I want this to be the new theme of this next chapter. I'm a producer and an artist myself, and much of my career has been about being behind the lens or shining a light on other people, doing public relations for other people or producing someone's dream photo, video. And it's been a wonderful thing, but I agree with what a few people have said, that it is very important for us sometimes to be the subject and the character, the main character, and the muse in art, and to look at ourselves like that, because we can't lose sight of who we are and this body we're walking around in.
Thank you so much. So great to hear from all of you. These introductions. I wanted to kind of get into the idea of body image and self-worth, and I wanted to ask all of you, what would you want someone struggling with body image right now to know about what's possible? Based on the project, even based on your place in life right now, how you're feeling, what's going on in the world, what's going on, on social media, the, doom scrolling through, GLP-1 ads and all of that, So yeah, if you don't mind.
I think today's my 50th birthday, so it feels kind of like a big monument. But but I think I'm making peace with aging in this process, and it's and all the things that are in the news right now are how these ideals turn out to be kind of, some of the ideals are very sick, right? And so I have been thinking about the shell that my soul wears, and my soul doesn't look any different than other people's souls. And so this is just the one I was given. And so for me, it's the making peace with that has been the beauty of, like, after, like, I was where you guys were, like, having just done it. And then I wrote this letter to Kristine. I was on an airplane and I was like, I just have to get all these thoughts out. And I wrote this letter to her about how this felt so profound to me, because I was recognizing that my soul is inside of this. And I think for me, that's what the aftermath of 2 years after having done it, I'm still talking about it all the time, because I feel that it gave me the ability to engage as a soul and not as a skin. Yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody I know wants to lose 15, 20 pounds. Nobody's happy with their body. If I can just do this or that, I think you do have to be happy with the shell that you're in, and the shell that you're in is never going to get better than what it is today. Like, I looked back, recently somebody sent me some pictures when I was 24. I looked like I was 13. But at the time I remember, and this is the time I was nude modeling, I remember feeling very inadequate. I was 24, I was in the best shape of my life. And I felt like, I'm not good enough to even nude model at that age. I wish I had that body right now. I saw another picture of myself when I was 38. And also I was like, at the time, I'm sure I had 2 kids. I didn't birth them myself, but dads put on weight, right? Because you stay at home a lot and take care of your kids. And I thought I was inadequate then, and now my kids are grown up, and I'm still feeling like, or have been up until recently, feeling like I need to lose weight, I need to whatever. But now I feel very comfortable in my skin. I'm the best I'm gonna look going forward now. It's going to get worse. So enjoy it right now. You're not going to de-age. You're going to get more gray hair and more wrinkles. Just enjoy the shell you're in. Yeah, and really, it is really about what's in here, right? Not what's out here.
Late stage capitalism. It really, so much I think of body perception it's just about making you feel bad about yourself so it can sell you something, and we know that. But it's still hard every day to combat those things. And there is an interesting difference between, obviously, how women are perceived, how men are perceived. And as a gay man, and I've noticed over the years, the objectification of the male body has definitely, exploded and has caused a lot of body dysmorphia issues with people that I know, and myself at times, where I've dealt with it, especially being a performance artist, where I'd be like, my belly is just always not like enough. Because I like to eat, I like to enjoy life, and and yet I'm performing on stage, and it's like there as a dancer or as a whatever, that you have to think about these things. But actually the point is to stop thinking about that and to just embrace and allow. And I do feel, especially now, more comfortable in who I am. And I think it is more important to feel better than to look, quote unquote, better, but just how you feel. And of course, as we grow older, the aches and pains and the different things are creeping in, and the creeping decrepitude is one of my mentors calls it. And it's an issue, but I would hope that we all find a place that we can be more comfortable and embrace and allow and accept and release all of the pressures that are put on us by capitalism trying to sell us something, and just love each other for the diversity that we all embody and that we all have, because obviously, we're all created in this beautiful spectrum. And for me, that is what existence is to, is to explore all of the possibility, all diversity, all things are beautiful, and for us to embrace and recognize that.
Beautiful. Yes, and yes. I think it's taken me this long to really appreciate my body, really, and to be less critical and go, yeah, it's all right. It's amazing. My body's amazing. I've produced 3 children. I feel stronger now than I did when I was younger. And I'm just kind of cross with myself. I just didn't see it when I was younger, and sort of been a bit more courageous maybe. But I understand now this is the best it's going to be, because in 20 years time it's not going
You're
to
gonna
look
wish
like
you
that.
had this body in 20 years time.
Yeah, so I'm gonna enjoy it now.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm really pleased because you're obviously younger than I am, and you've gone ahead and you've modelled and been brave. And I'd like more younger people to do that, because I've got daughters and 2 of them are in the audience today, and it's so hard for this generation to there's so much pressure. There's so much pressure that I didn't have when I was growing up, and it was still hard. And we've all been talking about that we need to change the conversation around very much, I think.
I suppose that being ashamed of our bodies probably makes us hide from each other more, which makes everything else hurt more. And I think it would be great if we all went into a field and took off our clothes and screamed and stomped and danced and shouted and shook about how ashamed we are of our bodies together.
That's called a hot tub.
Or the Osho Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that. I think I kept thinking of the horses that have the blinders on, that are some of the best, racers, because they're not looking at what everyone else is doing. Or I did a very weird, cool yoga training one time where you had to wear eye masks for the entire duration of the classes through the day, so you couldn't look at what other people were doing. And if you fell over, you fell over. And I'm just realizing in this moment that I think that's how I've been the only one of my 2 siblings, that doesn't have an eating disorder or body dysmorphia, because I've done that for a lot of my life, where I actively know that something I'm looking at is going to bring some negative comparative feelings. And I was saying I would like to eradicate the feeling of like competition or jealousy in my life, because it just it's never brought me a lot of joy. Instead, I'm almost obsessed with like the unique and weird, and talking to everybody I meet on the street, or the most bizarre piece of art, or someone walking with the coolest outfit in the room. And the coolest to me is just the most brave and pattern conflicting. Or so I think if we could all just stop looking at the thing that's become to me quite boring, which is everything looking the same, or everyone trying to get the same nose or the same set of boobs. Why don't we just look at the weird and the colorful and the chaotic and the whimsical, and just get really interested in that more, and then do that for ourselves? Like, what is interesting and unique about us? What could that be? What's the superpower of it? What's the special thing? And maybe we get off on that a little bit more than trying to get something that we don't have.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Actually, I was thinking of that. When you look at the project that you've done, you really do see so many sides of you in there, but that everybody has found something really unique and interesting about you. And sometimes it's beautiful, and sometimes it's whimsical, and sometimes it's very direct, right? And that's what I love about the project, because people are kind of looking at you very holistically rather than, you know, just about your image. They're really thinking about other parts of your personality, and it comes out. Like my portrait of you, I picked that portrait. You sent me a bunch of photos, and I picked it to do a collage because you look so proud in it. And I thought, that's how I see you, as this accomplished, proud woman who's a ball of energy. And I wanted to kind of portray that anyway. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. To kind of talk about, you know, all of this also in terms of, you know, body image and, you know, in terms of other people. And when I first started the project, you know, besides hitting pictures of myself, I think, you know, therapy runs parallel to my art. You know, that's for sure. I get so many ideas after talking to my therapist. And I was thinking about it early on. I mean, I'm 53 now, so this was 20 years ago probably, that, you know, nobody has ever asked me out on a date. And so, you know, immediately I took that as I'm not attractive. You know, it's like my mind went there immediately. It's like, you know, because of how I look, because that is what society taught me. That is, you know, because that's what all the magazines taught me. That's what, you know, growing up, my mom had 3 other sisters, and they would all, you know, they felt they were overweight. They felt they had to lose weight. And so I saw myself, there's a picture where I was 10 or 11 years old, and I was tall and thin, and I had these beautiful long legs. I was wearing a t-shirt over my bathing suit, you know, because I was concerned about how I looked. And, you know, and I didn't want to be seen in my bathing suit. So from this young age, you know, I had focused on that. And then, you know, as I grew up and got older, and because, like, you know, all my friends were dating and I wasn't, and, you know, and all of this, now that I'm older, of course, I'm wiser. And also because of this project and therapy, you know, I think that it's just who I am and how I love being independent. I love being single. I love being an individual. And, you know, and I don't know, there's just, but I couldn't own that before because the image, because of advertising, because of the friends that I hung out with, I would compare myself to them. I would compare myself to everybody. Like, why can't I fit into these clothes? Why can't I, you know, she has this hot boyfriend. She, you know, it's like, and it is the society that we live in, and it is the world that we live in. And I've learned, you know, that there's, I don't know, and I've become self-aware that there's so much nuance in our life. Nothing is black and white. Nothing, you know, just because I didn't date, it has nothing, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with how I look. I mean, well, maybe a little bit, but, you know, I mean, I don't know. But, you know, as I've gotten older and wiser, and especially but experiencing different ideas of body image, and this whole project, and talking to so many people about what they've gone through. All of my work, because it's about community and collaboration, is about me feeling like I'm not alone, hearing other people's stories, helping other people see that they're not alone, and realizing that, like, there's so many different stories to tell in, you know, I don't know, I had this great way of saying that. Like, we just need to keep telling our stories, keep talking about this. I mean, I believe, like, you know, rather than holding it in, rather than, you know, wearing those blinders, you know, that's why I do my art. That's why I put myself out there. People say I'm brave. And it's like, you know, and my stepdad can't look at the work, of course. You know, and and I'm not an exhibitionist. I had to tell my stepdad that. I'm like, it's because I deserve to be seen, and because I feel like I'm hidden, because I feel like I'm overlooked and marginalized, and, you know, because of my size, especially in Los Angeles, you know, in our celebrity culture here. And it's like, you know, when I was growing up, I was always picked last. I was, you know, all of that. And so, you know, learning about myself, maybe I'm brave in that, I'm able to put my vulnerability out there, but I kind of feel like I have to. Like, if we want to make change, we have to do something. And that, that's every aspect of our life, of course. But so that's what my art is about, is, making change for me as well as everybody else, because I want to live the best life that I can. And I was telling somebody the other day, I never use this word, but I'm like, I feel blessed, in every aspect of my life. Even if, in my body, it's every day it changes, tomorrow I could be okay with my body, the next day it's like, oh my God, my feet are killing me because I'm like, I can feel the weight of me, or, I can't go up the stairs, I'm out of breath, or, but then the next day I can, walk around the state park and, and I'm fine. And, but so if I notice that nuance, if I notice that every day is different, and that, not to fixate on, on the generalizations of like body image and the generalizations of advertising and, and all of that. And then, I don't know, then, that's my work. Well, not that my work is ever going to be done, but, so yeah, the last, just kind of a question to throw out there in terms of the gaze.
I gotta go draw.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, is it all? We're probably over time.
No,
Or-
we're 15.
Oh, okay.
47, 15 minutes.
Just, also the idea of, like the portraits and all of that, like being seen versus being looked at.
Right.
And kind of there's something there too. So I wanted to ask all of your opinion, because like I said, I had to my stepdad, he's like more old school, but I had to tell him I'm not an exhibitionist. This is not normal for me.
Mhm.
I'm doing it because I have to make a point.
Yeah.
Because me putting myself out there allows, like I said, gives permission to other people to feel better in their skins, to feel comfortable in who they are. And so, yeah, I guess if anybody wants to touch on the idea of being looked at versus being seen, as far as like taking up space in our society and what that looks like today.
I'm not gonna go first. I want to think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it down.
Okay, I'll go. I've been thinking a lot about narcissism, and I do believe that there's two-dimensional and three-dimensional narcissism, and the two-dimensional is the one that we know is bad because it's a self-reflection, and you're kind of trapped in just that mirror and that reflection. But the important thing is to break through, and I did some research on the myth of Narcissus, and we're really getting the Narcissus myth from Ovid, which is Roman. And the Greek actually is dealing with the fact that Narcissus is looking for his ancestry because he grew up with a single mother and didn't know who his father was, and then discovers that his father was the river god. So he's actually half human, half god. And so him going into the water, or her, because there's another side of the myth in which Narcissus had a sister, and the sister died, and that his reflection was seeing his sister, and so merging with the feminine. But going into that water was actually knowing thyself and having a three-dimensional relationship with yourself and knowing thyself. So I like to look at it in that kind of like our society of like scrolling through the Black Mirror and Instagram is that narcissism, but then there's also the like having a project where you discover yourself and also connect with community. You're three-dimensional.
I used to perform like partially nude in just dance band situations, various stuff. And I knew that in a large crowd, some people were seeing me and my co-performers, and some people were just looking at us.
Yeah.
So I guess my answer to that is there's gonna be both. And you'll be looked at, and you'll be seen. And I guess being like brave enough to ask to be seen involves being brave enough to as well be looked at. I guess I've kind of made it into a thing where being looked at is bad and being seen is good, and I don't know if that's true either. But I think that's why it's great to have an active performance that makes large amounts of people consider there's a group of people in there looking at someone nude, seeing someone nude, and you just have to go away and think about that. And I think maybe that helps soften the blow of knowing how many eyes are on you every day, because it leaves you with a question about what people actually see when they look at you, or if they're seeing you at all.
I can say. Yeah, for me, it was when I went in, I was like, okay, this is gonna be okay. I'm gonna do this. I'm okay. And I walked in and I already knew 3 of the artists, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, now that was the fear of being looked at versus being seen, because I knew the anonymity would offer me the chance to be seen. But then I was like, but I know these people, are they gonna look at me? And so I had that, it was a split second of like, ugh. And then I felt though the sense of what I wrote to you in that thing which you published, which is that I stood there and I saw and I felt the action of the artist, right? Which is the looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down. And as that was like a rhythm for me, it became a meditative state where I realized, no, this in the grace I think that was offered in that space was even the people who I feared were looking at me were seeing me. And that was what the beauty of what happened in that space. So I mean, I'm modest to a fault, like to a point where I don't want to swim around my friends. Like that's how I am. And so for me, it was really about getting over that. And that's what I think your artist statement when you post this it is courageous, but I think what you've done, it's not just courageous, it's like trailblazing. Like you've kind of cut a path for those of us who maybe wouldn't have walked down it ourselves to walk down and join you on this journey that that's not something I was going to do on my own. So I just have so much gratitude for you in that it is courageous. It is in what you have done and being vulnerable, you've created this space for the rest of us to come and also have healing and adventure and new vision and like community. There's so many aspects of it. And so it's the seeing and being seen that's just such a beautiful part of this project, which is why I'm just such a big fan.
Yeah, that makes me, I was thinking about my friend Donna who posed, and then I thought it was a little bit odd she wanted me to draw her, but I think what she wanted me to do is to see her, not to look at her.
Yeah.
And when I was drawing her, she was there on a date. He's not an artist, so it was a little bit weird. She's like, Ray and I are going into this room and he's gonna draw me nude. And it's a little bit odd for him, I think. But when I was drawing her, I wasn't looking at her. I was really trying to see what she was about. And the thing that I saw was this very elegant person with just these beautiful lines. I kept trying to trace the line of the back of her head that came over her shoulder and down her arm and her hand that was draped over her leg. And I was just trying to perfect that sweep of that line. And that's all I was obsessed with. And she's completely tattooed from the neck down. A lot of people were drawing that and stuff. And I was just trying to get the form because it was just so elegant and beautiful. But yeah, it was the difference between looking and seeing. And I didn't really look at her very much, but I was like really trying to see who she was and what her pose was about. And that's interesting. And that's what I think that's why that project is so powerful, how people see you in so many different ways.
Yeah, thank you. For me, there's a real fine line between looking and being seen. And I can only spot myself. I go through life a lot trying not to be looked at. You know, sort of going along the road or you know, in public transport, heads down, don't want to catch anyone's eye or not stand out too much. And yet we all want to be seen as well. So it's a real like contradiction a lot of the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think doing projects such as yours, maybe we can all step out into the world and just put our heads up a little bit higher and say hello to people and look people in the eye a little bit more and feel comfortable about being out there, being seen, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any questions? I think we're getting to
Yeah, we got 4
the end.
minutes.
Questions, comments? I know Greg was here, and I'm sure he would have talked about his experience, but I don't know if anybody else wants to talk about their experience. Questions?
Yeah, when you're talking about being looked at and versus being seen, I find that it is so intrinsic to our society that we look at one another and we don't see. It is so rare to see and be seen in this society. And that's a heartbreak. And it's also, it's a question of power. It's a question of gender. It really pisses me off. But so I think you're hitting something really, really, really important. One of the things that I love about what you do is that there are so many layers of it. There are so many levels. I feel so privileged that I was one of the first 60, you know, and that you allowed yourself not only to be seen, but also to be misapprehended. That is the part to me that takes the bravery, that you accept the risk that that's going to happen. You know, boy, good on you. You know, it's like, I could go on forever, but I'll pass this along here.
Well, I thought he was raising his hand. Well, thank you everybody for being here, for coming, for, you know, like I said, I'm sure we may have a couple slots left if you would like to experience, you know, modeling or, you know, being the model and experiencing, you know, being seen. You know, and I hope, I mean, I just love when people come out of the room, you know. I had a couple of women earlier today that were just like these huge smiles, and both Avery and Jamie too. I mean, that's why, you know, they're here, is because the joy that I saw on them, and the, you know, it was empowering for me, you know, and that's why I do this. So yeah, any last comments or anything that anybody can think about?
No, just keep going.
All right.
Thank you for what you
Thank you very much. Thank you.